Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Racer Insider Show. I'm Travis Turner, joined once again by the Racer Insider, Mr. Lindy Suter. And since we saw you guys last, a lot going on, including some surgery for my friend here. So we appreciate Lindy being back in the saddle, kind of having to work with one arm here, but eager to talk about what's going on with the Racers, and perhaps even more eager to reveal the all 90s racers from the Suter 60. We'll be doing that in the second half of the show. A lot of people have asked what's wrong with the current edition of the Racers as they have encountered some struggles. We have the ailment diagnosed. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We have the fix for sure. More guys like these dudes on this all 90s team. There's nothing that Popeye Jones and Marcus Brown and company couldn't fix. So we'll look forward to getting to that. We also want to start by thanking everybody that was with us for our show with former Racer head coach Mark Gottfried. Mark was fantastic, and we want to thank him for that again, but certainly want to say thank you to all the Racer fans that watched. A lot of you have reached out to Lindy and I to talk about how much you appreciated that appearance from Coach Gottfried and what a wonderful job he did, how great it was to remember back to those days. And one of the things that we'll talk about as we get into this all 90s group is what a time that was for the program. There were an awful lot of banners raised at that point. So we'll get to work with all of that here. But first, as always, we want to thank our sponsors here, Suter Insurance Group, Lindy and his great team. You can reach them via telephone at 270-753-5842. Online, they are at SuterINSgroup.com. Again, that is SuterINSgroup.com. And that phone number, one more time, 270-753-5842. And Lindy, as we get going here, one more word about your great insurance team. I know as you have gone through the surgery and trying to begin the process of getting yourself back, one more time that you really appreciate the great staff you've got there at Suter headquarters.
Yeah, that's one thing. I got a lot of things that I got to worry about with the shoulder, but that's one thing I do not have to worry about is the office. It's covered, and it's covered by experienced people, good people. I got Martha Harper. It's been in the business forever. Sherry Phillips been with me forever. My niece Kristen Krause, she's been here for 13, 14 years. I got my son-in-law Zach here now at the office, and he's a newbie, but he's learning fast. So yeah, this place can go without me, that's for sure. But before we go into the other, I want you to tell them about what you got going on right now.
Oh, in terms of my business venture?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm very proud to be a part of Brannon Farms Barrels. We are located just south of Hazel, just north of Purrier, just a couple of minutes below the Kentucky state line on 641. And I have partnered with a couple of my good friends. Of course, a lot of you that know me know for about a decade, I was the head coach at my alma mater, Callaway County High School. One of my players there during my tenure was Jonah Brannon, Jonah, the son of former Murray State Dean of Agriculture, Tony Brannon. And Jonah was a great player for us. He went on to play at Murray State, and just a great young man. And when he got finished with his playing career, I brought him into our coaching staff, sort of identified him as the guy I would like to hand my program off to, and we did that. So Jonah now is the head coach at Callaway County High School. But in my retirement, I wanted to return to teaching the game, something I had done years before. It's kind of how I got my start in coaching. And so just kind of a little divine providence that Tony and Jonah and I started working on a plan back in probably early August and 2025, trying to put something together there. Tony already had a very nice pre-existing gym on the family property there, and they are Brannon Farms. Tony has grown up in a farm family. They continue that in his retirement. But we have outfitted our building with a state-of-the-art netting system that covers about a 70 by 53-foot area, netting floor to ceiling and wall to wall. We can customize the building up to 4 individual hitting tunnels, or it can be an open space. And we actually have an instructional bill right now. Our schedule is getting pretty full this time of year. Of course, we've had a lot of kids working with us through the winter, and more adding as we go towards spring. We've got teams that come in and practice. And so we do have a Facebook home, the Brannon Farms Barrels. Jonah operates that for us. I don't know anything about social media, Lindy, so I just play dumb in that area. But I am the director of individual instruction. That teaching area is where I spend most of my time and really enjoy that. So for those of you that might be interested in instruction for your son or your daughter. We have started to do some softball instruction as well now. But if you've got a travel team or other club that might want to rent the facility for practice, that is an option as well. So I appreciate you giving me the chance to talk about that a little bit, and we're excited about our growth.
Yeah, I had actually had a parent just kind of observe you the other night. I guess you must have been doing some of your instruction. And the word that I got back from them is that their son had been to some of the best, supposedly, and that there was no one better than you. And that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I'm used to kind of the golf professionals around here that have taught golfers, young golfers.
Right.
There's one that's excellent over in Hopkinsville, a Murray State alumnus, Mitchell Moore, who's one of the best in the business. I've been to him several times. Well, for those people that know golf, this is the baseball guy. He's the guy you need to go to if you want that kid to play baseball. And if my grandson, if I can stay around long enough, and Travis is still doing it, and it's not off his hard SEC school with his wife. Just kidding. I'm sure he's going to be out there. I promise you that. It'll be Mitchell Moore and Travis Turner.
Hey, we got to keep me and Lindy both upright. That is the that's the next thing. I'll be the next guy on the surgery table as many old wounds as I've got. But I appreciate that very much, my friend, and we do take very seriously our opportunity, that platform, to help young folks. So yeah, we'd love to hear from any of you out there that have an interest in that sort of instruction. So, Lindy, as we get started, we find the racers, these modern day racers, and in a little bit of a tough spot. It has been a struggle for quite some time in Missouri Valley play, and I know you get this question all the time as people encounter you, and I know you've asked it yourself about what it is you're seeing. This club that still, I believe, is full of great promise. I would urge people to remember the first half of basketball on Sunday against Belmont. Remember what they are capable of, if, in fact, you are capable. And I put this in my notes, Lindy. With 18 minutes and 19 seconds remaining on Sunday, the Racers led Belmont by 19. And this Belmont club, folks, the more I watch them, I know they won't, but I would hand them an at-large bid if they needed it. That's how good I think this basketball team is. Belmont offensively is a high-speed bowling ball made of razors. I mean, that's what it is watching these guys work on the offensive end. They're extremely well coached, but the Racers had them down by 19 after nearly 22 minutes. So that's a reminder of what Murray State is capable of. But Lindy, perhaps the most concerning thing, these are the last 3 second halves for the Racers, including a win at Indiana State. They were outscored in the second half against Northern Iowa, 50-29. Outscored at Indiana State in the second half, 51-31. Outscored against Belmont in the second half, 63-31. Now, brother, that is 73 down. Excuse me. No,
Woo!
That's right. 21 against UNI, 20 against Indiana State, and 32. So we're talking about leaking 73 points in the last 60 minutes of second half basketball. That is a problem.
That's a huge problem. In fact, that almost leaves me speechless because I haven't really dissected that much. Didn't surprise me because I remember watching them with my eyeball, but man, that's a big difference. And that's puzzling. That's really puzzling to see them play so well in one half, and then the next half, it just seems like, I don't know, you're going to dive into the numbers part of it. What I see just watching the team right now is that there's one of two things that's either happening. It looked like to me a little burnout looked like in them that might be happening, but then again, I think they played too well in the first half to think that it's burnout.
Right.
So it can't be that. To me, they look tired just looking at their eyes, and just they look a step slower than they did earlier in the year to me. Number three is, and I think you'll bring it up, is it seems like that ball has been stuck dribbling a whole lot more than what it was earlier. Doesn't look like we're cutting, doesn't look like we're moving around and getting open. And maybe that's because of the defense, but just that look in their eye. I mean, you sometimes you can just look at a team and look at that look in their eye. And I looked at Belmont's team going through warm-ups, and I just looking at their body language, and they just are so confident in themselves. I mean, they never think they're going to lose. They know they can win every game because they know they can hit 3-point shots and they can get open and they can do it quick. And that's where in a game against Belmont, I don't care if you're up 25 or 30, you better value every possession. Because if you go in there dribbling with nowhere to go and just turn it over, they're going to score 3 points. They're going to score 3 points. You didn't get a chance, and they're going to go down and score 3 points, and they can rip them off fast. I knew all along that lead was just not going to stand. And and you're right, they have a really good basketball team. And I'll say this, they've owned us. They've absolutely owned us. I think I made the comment after, I don't know which felt worse, the shoulder surgery or getting our butt kicked by them twice. But, and in fact, I might trade us kicking their butt twice and going through the shoulder surgery. Being honest with you, it's getting a little old. It's getting a little old. But anyway.
And they enjoyed it, Lindy. I mean, that's one thing I shared with you this morning. I reviewed each of the baskets they scored in the second half the other day, and they reacted with just a little extra glee with each basket that they added down the stretch. And certainly what they did in somebody else's building is remarkable. By the way, that 19-point lead, which went on the board with 18 minutes and 19 seconds remaining in the second half by 13:05 remaining in 5 minutes and 14 seconds. Every bit of it was gone, and the game was tied at 47.
That's what I'm talking about. It just can happen when you start thinking, okay, you got Belmont down in every possession. You don't value that possession, and I've seen several possessions during that stretch that were not valued, in my opinion. Okay. I know there's certain people that's got responsibilities that we need to score, but you also need to be under control too. And again, we go back to it, Travis. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm watching them swish them, and I'm watching us clank them. They swishing their threes, and we were barely making rim.
Yeah, in the second half, they basically did not miss, Lindy. I think they were 22 of 32 overall and 7 of 10 from deep.
Yeah, and you look at that statistic, it's a glaring statistic to me, and we can talk about all the other statistics. The one I always talk about is that team 3-point shooting, and we are at 32% in the Missouri Valley Conference as a team, and I doubt very seriously if you can go out and find anyone that won this league shooting 32% from 3-point range. Belmont is around 38%. I mean, and we're giving up probably 38% from 3-point range a game too. So not only are we shooting, hopefully we shoot 32 here lately, it's hard to even reach our average.
And Lindy, let's highlight this because I wanted to make sure that we gave this young man a special shout out, because a couple of episodes ago, the last time we had a full Racer Insider episode where we focused on the team, obviously our last episode was with Coach Godfrey. But we talked about the fact that KJ Tenner, one of the best defenders on this club, but it was hard to play him because he was playing so poorly on the offensive side of the ball. He wasn't making shots. Since that time, that kid has been on an absolute heater. Listen to these numbers. Since the UIC game, which is a stretch that includes UIC, SIU, Indiana State, UNI, and Belmont are the games that were in that collection since. Over that stretch, he is 21 of 29 from the floor and 10 of 14 from three, including the 5 of 7 that he made against Belmont on Sunday. You take KJ's 5 of 7 out, and the club is 6 of 25 for 24%.
Oh yeah, thank goodness.
But he has played his best basketball.
He has played his best basketball, and then it makes you kind of wonder, maybe sometimes you might want to look out there and see KJ at the 1 and Taylor at the 2. And maybe get Taylor some open shots where he doesn't have to work for every 3, because he's a decent 3-point shooter too. But if he's not getting them, he ain't going to make them. And especially if he's having to create. I mean, I think you pointed that out in your research, that he's a much better 3-point shooter.
Especially when he's a catch and shoot guy. Whenever he can receive the basketball and
that makes us a little small in the backcourt. And then what do you do with Jackson? But maybe that's a look that we might ought to look at occasionally, is throwing the 3 guards out there with a couple of bigs.
Well, and I think that's the point, Lindy, in terms of examination of where this group is. And, you know, there are so many fascinating things that have come out of this stretch and that came out of the game on Sunday. You know, we have talked about how much this has become a game of the portal. It has become a game of the veteran basketball player. Obviously, Roman has done great. You know, I know he had a tough time on Sunday, but on balance, he's had a great year as a freshman coming over from France. Matisse has played a lot of valuable minutes as a freshman as well. But to consider again the offensive basketball factory that Belmont is, and you want to talk about a worthy heir to Rick Byrd. Casey Alexander is every bit of that. When you see openings across this country and candidates for them, Casey's smart enough. He won't take some of these bad jobs that are death traps that are going to get you one guaranteed contract and then get you a buyout. He's got a pretty good place here at Belmont. But the job that they do identifying talent that fits their system and teaching it. They had a couple of guys on Sunday, true freshmen, the Smiley kid who's out of Valparaiso, Indiana, and the Dillon kid who is a redshirt freshman at forward. Those two kids combined to shoot 11 of 16 overall, 5 of 8 from three, made 13 of 13 free throws, combined to score 40 points on 16 field goal attempts. Two kids getting it done.
Two freshmen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's time to give up on giving freshmen playing time. I think freshmen, you know, especially if they're talented, and you're right, they do a fantastic job of recruiting. I mean, they get a kid that you don't think, you know, none of the high majors, maybe mid majors recruiting, comes in, fits their system. They must develop their players really well too. I would love to sit in on some of their player development stuff during the summer, because these guys come in, they look drilled. I mean, they know their stuff. They've got that look. They're confident. They got a swagger about them. And, you know, I'm going to have to eat some words here that I hate to eat, because I said it so much years ago when we were on the radio. I called Belmont Rick Byrd U. You remember that?
Oh, yes.
I didn't think they'd be relevant when Rick Byrd left. Wrong. Nothing's really changed. It's the same Belmont.
Casey.
And Casey is an excellent shot. And I'm like you, if by gosh, if I was out there right now, that's one of the dudes I'd be looking at to coach my basketball team.
Yeah.
He's energetic. He's into the game. I just like the way he coaches.
Yeah, and I love the way they play. I mean, it is a beautiful symphony when they get rolling on that end of the floor. So some other things that we see, and let's just look at some things that have gone on with the club. So I know the first thing that people think, because you see Belmont score 63 points in the second half and Indiana State 51 in the second half, UNI 50 in the second half. And when I say this, I'm not going to suggest that the defense has been good, but I think people feel like as the results have gone down, the defense has been significantly worse. It has been in stretches, but on balance, it has not. I'm going to highlight this for you in a couple of different ways. So in the non-conference, and I'm going to put a star by this because we're going to come back to in the non-conference in a second. In the non-conference, though, in the 11 non-conference games, they allowed 78.5 points per game. In Missouri Valley play, it is 80.1. So that's a minimal marginal difference, okay? But if you go back and you look and you pay close attention, the signs of the defensive struggle were always there, because when you weight what the Racers allowed against their 5 best non-conference opponents, which would be SMU, Middle Tennessee, McNeese State, George Washington, and Akron. In those 5 games, they allowed 92 points a game. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the overall total of 78.5 in the non-conference is because they also played Omaha, Mississippi Valley State, Nichols, Moorhead, Bellarmine. Okay? But that they were not a great defensive club, especially, and we're not worried about all the time point totals because we have to talk about efficiencies and rates because of tempo. But this was always going to be a club that if they played at their pace, this was not going to be a team that was going to allow 65 points a game. That's not what they were going to do. That's not who they are. But again, remember, in Missouri Valley play, the points per game allowed is only a little more, and 80 is not a great number, obviously, but in the non-conference, they were scoring 90.4 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
They are now scoring 80 0.4 points a game. And going back to those 5 best opponents, outside of when they were locked up by McNeese, okay, against SMU, they scored 91. Against Middle, they scored 87. Against George Washington, they scored 96. And against Akron, they scored 115. Now, I'm going to tell you what, you score 115, I don't care how bad you are defensively, you're going to win most of them.
You're going to win most of them.
They won the game 115-100. But there are some things at work here, and because of what we do over on the women's side and the way that we think about the game, we think about possessions, we think about shots on goal, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 games, and then I'm going to marry them to 3 more games. Against SMU, 86 shots on goal, total field goals and free throws, plus 15 turnovers. That gets you to 101 opportunities, okay? 101 opportunities. Against George Washington, they were actually more efficient than just pure high tempo, but against George Washington, 87 shots on goal, 10 turnovers, 97 opportunities. Against Akron, 94 shots on goal, 18 turnovers. They scored 115 points. Lindy turned it over 18 times. That's 112 total opportunities. Now, against Belmont, because Belmont likes to go, the pace was still pretty good. 81 shots on goal and 15 turnovers, 96 opportunities there. Against Indiana State, 75-14, which is 89. UNI, 71-9, which is 80. 80 opportunities is way on down from 100 and 112. And when efficiency goes down, as it tends to in conference play, more volume is required. The pace of play has not been there. It has not been there. And to something Lindy alluded to earlier about sharing and moving the basketball, this is another problem. And this probably speaks as much to efficiency as it does anything else. In non-conference play, the Racers assisted on 57% of their baskets. In Missouri Valley play, that number is 44.
Whoa.
Ball isn't moving like it was.
Well, no, that goes to where you can notice it sticking in the guy's hands. And I don't know, maybe that's the scouting, maybe that's the defense, or maybe it's just the mindset of the kids. But it's just obvious to me the ball is not moving as quick. And the guys almost either look like they've lost their confidence, or 2, the pressure's getting to them. One of the 2, I don't know.
I think both, Lindy, and I think both those things are natural. I think this is Mike Tyson time, though. I think what you saw was these guys had a plan right up into the point they got hit in the mouth.
Right, exactly. And we have not been, earlier in the year we could take a hit in the mouth.
Yep.
And bounce back from it, but here lately that hit in the mouth is Florida's.
Yeah, we've had a hard time making those adjustments, and of course sometimes we've seen this problem in the second half. We were in great shape at Indiana State, and then it got real hard in the second half. And credit to them for some adjustments made. Maybe we got a little bit complacent there. I don't know, but one of the things that's interesting, and I want to say this. Of course, people will understand my natural bias and my inclination to protect coaches. I was one at the high school level. My wife, of course, I think is. And let's go ahead and let's refer to my wife as not a good coach. Let's call her what she is. She's a great coach. Yeah. She is one of the best in the country. Anybody wants to debate that with me, I'll be glad to do that. But all coaches are generally speaking good coaches. Okay, Ryan Miller is a good basketball coach, first time head coach. I don't have any doubt that Ryan Miller is a good coach. But guess what? Casey Alexander is a good coach, maybe a great coach. Ben Jacobson has been a great coach for years at Northern Iowa. The Graves guy up at Indiana State, he's a good coach. Up at Illinois State, you're going to face a good coach. And you guys understand where I'm going? These are professional basketball coaches, okay? There's going to be somebody fired every day when the season ends. And guess what every one of those guys are? They are good basketball coaches. That's what you're talking about at this level. They are all whoever's managing a team in the big leagues this year loses 100 games. Guess what kind of baseball guy that guy is? He's a great baseball guy. NFL guys just got fired. Guess what they are? They're great football guys. They are, but everybody is. Okay, everybody is. And I remember years ago, Lindy, you'll remember this too. Charlie Weiss comes off as offensive coordinator off Bill Belichick's staff. He's full of bluster. He's full of arrogance. He gets to that press conference at Notre Dame and he tells people Notre Dame will now have a significant schematic advantage. And now Charlie goes to the mailbox and gets checks from both Notre Dame and Kansas. Schematic advantage, got fired twice.
Boy, he's really hit it big.
Hey, he did. He may be the smartest guy in America. He may really have figured out the schematic
advantage. If you ever
advantage.
get to that job in the SEC or the ACC or whatever, all you got to do is get it, because you're going to get paid whether you win or lose.
That's right. You're going to get paid. But guess what? Everybody else out there is working hard. Everybody else out there is good. And the idea that you are this much better than the other coach down the line, we're going to win on my coaching. Are you kidding me? If your players aren't good enough, son, you ain't winning nothing.
That's right.
Go ahead and take that to the bank. Lindy and I are going to put together a club here in just a little bit that Lindy and I could roll down to the sideline, maybe hold one practice. We're going to roll out. And we're not going to play any guy more than 25 minutes, and we're going to go through the conference undefeated.
No doubt about it. That 90s team.
We're going to go undefeated.
Ooh, that 90s team. Hey,
we're even hiding our best point guards on the bench. They ain't even going to start the game.
That's right.
All right. And you can go, boy, those guys are unbelievable. Yes, we are unbelievable coaches because we started Popeye Jones.
Yep.
We started Marcus Brown.
Yeah.
We started Isaac Spencer, right? Okay. We are good at what we do because we're running out the best players. Now, the rest of it is, as soon as Lindy and I ran up against a roster as good as ours, guess what? Then we might earn our money as coaches. That would be the situation. So I'm going to throw one other thing at you, and this is about the defensive part. And this is where the coaching staff, in my opinion, has a decision to make. And I'm just going to refer to something that we would have done back in the old high school days when Rochelle was at Murray High. So Belmont, in my opinion, runs some of the most beautiful and most efficient man-to-man offense in America. Okay? And I think we have numbers to back that up. Now, we already know the Racer man-to-man defense is, at its best, okay, right? So if Belmont's man-to-man offense is a 9 and Murray State's man-to-man defense is a 6, who's going to win that battle?
Yeah.
And how often are they going to win it? They're going to win it all the time. So if you're sitting on the sideline and their man-to-man offense is ringing your bell every trip down to the court and your 19-point lead is now down to 8 in the blink of an eye, I would call timeout. And if we hadn't practiced it a single time, I'd say, boys, this is what a 2-3 zone looks like.
Bingo.
Because we are going to make them do something than what they are cutting our throat with right now. For at least a minute, they're going to have to do something other than what they have gotten really comfortable. And I'm going to tell you, folks, you guys watched it on Sunday, but when you get to go back and you just watch on a loop all the baskets they made in the second half, you would have thought we were on a merry-go-round. Our heads were turning, our body. I mean, we were running like this right here in a circle.
I saw it.
In a circle. And so that means the plan that you thought you had has already, it's just gone into the ether. And again, what we have to understand is none of us are at practice, not on a daily basis. And so we don't know what the coaches are seeing. And you have to remember, some guys can't do certain things. We've already established they are not going to blitz ball screens with Fred King. They're not even going to put him in a hard hedge situation because I'm assuming their thought is that his lateral movement is not going to be good enough that a guard will just turn the corner and run into him and the official's going to go foul number 1, 30 feet from the basket. Mm-hmm. And they're just going to hunt him up in that way. That's my expectation. I think that's why you see when Fred's on the floor, all of the soft drop coverage. Of course, Fred only played 18 minutes the other night because that's a tough matchup against that Belmont squad for him. But again, there are all these matchups that the other team are going to look at, and they're going to go, we're going to attack here. We're going to attack here. This is a guy we know we can get him to turn his head. We can post this guy up. We can pin this guy down, et cetera, et cetera. And I can't help but wondering if you're going to stick with the idea that you're going to play 9 or 10 guys, and I'm not sure that's a great idea anymore, but if you're going to, what does it look like if you go with an all-big lineup? What if you play Damone and Miller up top, and you play Anderson on one wing, King in the middle, and Vice on the other wing, and you play a high and wide 2-3, and everybody does this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And I'm not saying do it for 40 minutes
Mm-hmm.
because who knows how that offensive club looks. How about there's another unit that goes Tenor, Taylor, Jackson, Trainer, one of our other forwards, Corbone, 4 guards. I don't care. And those guys get up in your jersey and guard you for 94 feet, and they just rip and run and go as fast as they can. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good thought.
I don't know.
One thing you did say though that I've had numerous. Well, I've had my buddy up in Louisville, Timmy. He's hit me with several text messages about us running some zone defense, especially against Belmont.
Yeah.
For some of the same reasons you said, I haven't gone back and looked, but the games that they've struggled in or lost, I think the other team did run some zone against, or at least that's what he told me.
Well, Lindy, people and especially if you're of a certain age, when you hear zone defense, you think, oh my God, they're going to make a ton of threes. What the hell do you think they're doing already?
Yeah. Already made.
And the zone defenses that can be played today are not what they were playing in girls basketball in 1978, where there were 2 people standing on the elbow and 3 across the baseline in front of the basket. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's going to yield a lot of wide open threes. That's not what we're talking about. We're going to have the guards at the 3-point line or above. We're going to pull those bigs up and we're going to play them wide. There's all sorts of things that you can do to account for court coverage. But understand, the reason people are opening threes against man-to-man is, why do you think they're setting the ball screen? Because they want to get a man advantage and they want to make the defense rotate. And right. Part of the reason why teams have shot such a high percentage of 2s against the Racers is because Ron Miller's club doesn't want to give up the 3. So when the defense gets broken down, the defenders on the 3-point shooters are told to stay home. Don't come help. Don't come help. We don't want to leave the shooter. Don't leave the shooter. Well, that's going to allow for the straight line drive, or that's going to allow the short jumper with the drop coverage back at 8 feet. They're going to pull up from 10, 11 feet, take that short jumper. And when you play against good offensive teams, it's pick your poison. I mean, the idea that you're going to play against Belmont, oh, we're going to take everything Belmont does away. No, you're not. No, you're not. They're too good. I always laugh, Lindy, when people talk about the NBA and they're like, they don't play any defense in the NBA. I'm like, really? Have you seen the offensive players? Kevin Durant's 7 feet tall. He makes 20-footers like they're layups. You go guard him. You go guard him. It's hard. But I think there's a thing where, can this club find something in the last 3 regular season games? I think they can. I think they may have waited too long to find out.
Yeah.
That would be the biggest concern for me, is that you only have 3 dress rehearsals left before it's move on or go to the house.
Exactly.
But I think if you think you're going to play the way that you have been playing for the last month and survive St. Louis, even the first game, I think you're wrong.
I'd have to agree with you, Travis. Have to agree with you.
I think you're wrong. And Lindy, one other thing to examine, and when I say this, I'm not, let's be clear, this is not a shot at these young men that are here in the program now. This is not a suggestion that they are doing this, but people have to be aware. When I say people, I mean all of us. In this era of college basketball, if you are going to pay players, and we are, then the likelihood is that most of the roster is not here because it says Murray State on the front of the jersey. They are not here because they love and are impressed by this community and this school. They are here, bottom line, because this program made them the best financial offer with opportunity to play and advance their career tied to it. That's just part of it. There is also a reality here where every one of these young men, and I'm not saying they are, but I'm not saying they're not, but this is just real. The possibility that they are all already considering what they are going to do next.
That has slipped into my mind too. And I could see that happening. If I'm a kid and I'm playing underclassmen and I got an agent, that agent's probably calling me up on the phone and say, hey, in order for us to get here, you're going to have to do that. Not Murray State's going to have to do that. You're going to have to do that in order to maybe get that bigger payday. And I think that could be, I hope that ain't something they think about. I hope that ain't happening, but You
Well,
got
Lindy, it is.
I think it probably is. I mean, if you're one of our guys, let's just take the freshman at Valpo, maybe Pettigrew or whoever it might be, and you're his agent for next year. You're in contact with him. You're talking with him and you're telling him what he needs to do. And somebody's already probably told the agent from an SEC school or a Big Ten school
Yep.
to contact this kid, let him know we're interested, but we'd like to see him do this for the rest of the season. I could see that actually happening where an agent actually has more power over the kid than the coach.
Oh, well, sure. Well, I mean, look, if you pay somebody $300,000 to play basketball, how easy is it to tell them to get on the floor after a loose ball?
Exactly. And that's concerning. That's not just concerning here. That would be a concern I would have anywhere right now.
Oh, it's everywhere. Well, Tony Bennett went to Virginia because of it.
The thing that amazes me about Belmont though is that they lose guys to the portal. They
all
lose
over
guys
the place.
that start for Maryland. They use guys that start for Tennessee. They got guys that played at North Carolina. They got leaving after their sophomore years, and dang if they don't just plug 2 more freshmen in.
Yeah, got one at Nebraska right now.
Got one at Nebraska. And they're able to just reload, and I guess that established program, they've had it together. But boy, that's interesting.
Well, it's just part of it because look, you like Roman, I like Roman, Mark Gottfried likes Roman. You think Power 4 people or Big East and Atlantic 10 people don't see him on television and go, hey, that's an intriguing player.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
And now you live in an environment where in a matter of months you can be somewhere else. And see, this goes back to the idea of there are no attachments here.
Right.
There are no attachments here. That's not why you came. This could be a satellite campus. The idea of the college could be online somewhere. And sometimes it is, even when you're on a campus, everybody's taking online classes.
Exactly.
I mean, we are in an era where, again, when I was a little boy, my favorite player at Kentucky was Kyle Macy. I wanted to be Kyle Macy. I would have crawled over broken glass to go play guard in Lexington, Kentucky for the Big Blue.
Mm-hmm.
That's not why these kids come to places now. They don't even go to Kentucky for that. The kids playing at Kentucky don't know who Rupp Arena is named after. I guarantee you.
Right.
It could be Billy Rupp for all they know. They have no idea, and they don't care, and they're not going to. And listen, if I came over to your house and I started messing with your family and your property, you'd be hard to deal with, wouldn't you?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
But if I go somewhere where you've been hired to protect the property, maybe you make a business decision.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I pay you more money to leave the property, you'll do that instead of guard it. And that's, those are part of the challenges that coaches have in today's world. And I just think that we have to acknowledge it as we set the table to start talking about these great guys from the 1990s. It was a different world. It was a different time. And it's why more and more to us, it's a very special time.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking last night, and I was giving you the list of the 90s and the other list, and I kind of got to this decade that we're currently in. It's like, are we going to have 10 players that can even make this list? Tevin and KJ, obviously. Right. Are we going to have another player here long enough to even make a list? It would have to be one heck of a player. I mean, he'd have to have one heck of a 1 year, which we've had them. Gary Hooker had one, and we've had some great 1 year players. Don't get me wrong, but that's very odd. And I'm thinking, man, this sure has changed. How in the world are we going to put together all decade teams? How in the world is there ever going to be another number retired that is from a current player playing from now until? Is that all over with? Is all the stuff, all greats going to be past?
Yeah, we don't know.
And we look at that 90s group, and my goodness gracious, I mean, what a group. And all you got to do is go into the arena, though, and look up at the ceiling and look at all the banners that were hung in the 90s. And that was done with really, really what? Good players. Good players.
Special, yeah.
Special players.
Special guys.
So anyway, I just want to say, Racer fans, we not give up time. Boy, I know it's been tough. It's been tough. when you got them leads and you don't hold on to them, they're probably no worse losses than that right there. So I know we're being tested a little bit too as fans. And, we got to stay on board. We got to finish out like we always do. Travis has said they showed some signs that they could do it. Time's running out, though. I mean, time is running out. So, but we got one home game left. One home game. I can't believe. Can you believe it's already down?
No, I cannot.
I mean, unbelievable. And it's been a long season for this group. You think about how long this group has been together. It goes back to the summer. It goes back to going to the islands and playing in the preseason. It's all those practices. It's going back to the Bahamas. It's going to Vegas. It's going to South Dakota. It's coming back and it's playing Missouri Valley Conference. And man, this team's it's been a long season for them. It really has. I mean, sometimes I don't know about those foreign trips. I guess they are good because you get in the extra practice, but boy, it sure does make that season awful long for those guys too.
It does make it a long one. Hey, here's a little hope for you as we wrap up and we head to our all-90s team. So Belmont probably, and probably more than probably likely, is going to have the top seed. They're going to win the regular season title. They certainly have the sweep of the Racers in hand. That is that extra tiebreaker there. But the 2 seed is very doable, but huge games on the road for the Racers that could decide that. I'm going to bet if, and again, this is a big if, but if Murray State sweeps the remaining 3, which includes Evansville at home, and that is in between at Illinois State and at Bradley, win both at Illinois State and at Bradley, I think they will be the 2. I think that's very, very possible. UIC is in this mix. They have at Evansville, Valpo, Bradley at home, at Indiana State. Illinois State has the Racers at Bradley, at Northern Iowa, and Belmont. That ain't very nice.
Oh.
UNI's got at Indiana State, SIU, Illinois State, and Drake. And Bradley has at Valpo, Illinois State, at UIC, and the Racers. So for almost none of this group coming home, almost none of them have it easy. And it's not easy for the Racers, but a couple of these cats here, they've got Murderers Row coming home. So nothing in terms of 2 through 5 going to be decided probably until that final day.
No, boy, that's one thing about being in this league, man. All these games coming up are so huge, good matchups. Boy, that Illinois State finish, well, they got you, tell me, us.
That's the Racers at home and Belmont. Those are their 2 home games, the Racers and Belmont, and they're at Bradley and at UNI.
Phew. They were picked number 1 in the conference, weren't they?
And that's not that's just not nice, that finish.
That's a terrible finish. Boy.
That's not pleasant at all. But hey, remember, folks, hope springs until Arch Madness, because you win in St. Louis, you're going to the dance. That's all there is to it. And then everybody will be happy again.
That's right. Exactly.
Like we were back in the 1990s, folks. Let's get started. The Suitor 60 All 90s Club. And Lindy, sometimes we work up to the last guy that maybe is guy. I'm going to start with the big guy. I'm going to start with the big guy because we got so many greats. But when I think about my favorite racer all time, I'd have to think about it for a while. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I certainly know one of the guys in the conversation is the man from Dresden, Tennessee, the former high school shortstop, as you pointed it out, Ronald Popeye Jones. This man, and you want to talk about going back to the glory days of college basketball, when a young man could come into a great program and he could change his body and he could develop and he could become legend before it was all through. His freshman year, it's 5.8 points and 4.6 rebounds. By the time it's over, it's 21.1 a night and 14.4 and leading America on the glass on the way to the NBA. He becomes a household name. He becomes a guy that Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley tell stories about. He is a guy still in the game to this day, but you want to talk about all-time pantheon, 2,057 points, 1,374 rebounds, 221 assists, 136 blocks, 159 steals, 751 free throws made. And more than anything, the legend is even greater than the real thing. You had to seem to believe him. Maybe the best pair of hands I've ever seen on a basketball court, my friend.
Oh, exactly. What a story. I think one of college basketball's greatest stories, actually. Going back, a little town in Dresden, Tennessee, and I know Mark Burnson was recruiting him really hard. I remember the night because Mark said, "Hey, I really want this Popeye Jones kid down there in Dresden. Ain't too many recruiting him, but if you could help us out a little bit." So I went over to my buddy's house, Timmy, and we called Popeye's house. Probably wasn't supposed to. I guess we broke the rule. I guess we did. We was really wanting Popeye. So we called. I'll never forget it because Timmy called him and the mom answered. She answered the phone and Timmy says, "Popeye around?" And she said, "No, he's out with Peanut." Well, Peanut is the dad of the quarterback. From Dresden.
Yep.
I later found out. They played baseball together, were best buds. So I just think that was funny. But I remember my buddy telling his mom, and I promise this is honest God truth, because I almost fell out of my chair when he said it. But he'd been watching him on TV, Channel 6, the highlights. And he's seen those feet. And he's a big old boy himself, the guy that's telling me this, Timmy. So, he's a little bit, he likes them big old boys. And so he says, "I promise you, if he decides to come to Murray State and puts in the work, he'll play in the NBA one day." I said, "Whoa, you're really getting pretty deep there, Timmy." I mean, this kid's 300 something pounds. He can't jump. And you're telling me he's going to play in the NBA. And I'll have to give old Timmy credit. That was about as good a seeing a kid before anybody else did. A John Moran or whatever. He spotted Popeye Jones early on Channel 6's highlights with Dresden playing. But the story of him coming in, the impact he had on the program, and coming off of the years that we had was important too. We just come off the Martin Mann years where we had all the publicity, and then you roll in the Popeye Jones. And I still got a picture of Popeye's freshman year, and he's giving a high five to Jeff Martin. And if you'll really look at that picture of Popeye and then pull out the picture of him 3 years later, it's amazing what he did. I mean, he took it serious. You talk about a guy that put it in. I mean, to do what he did, the nutrition, everything that was involved. And then to really top it off, he had Scott Igor to come in and coach him his senior year. And that probably helped him get in condition a little bit too.
I can promise you it did.
Going down playing the NCAA tournament, he got that 30-something points against Michigan State. And Popeye Jones at that time became a household name. And boy, some of my favorite videos to go back and watch right now are his teams and watching him play.
Yeah,
he was just something else to watch play. I mean, like you said, he could shoot the three too. He could handle the basketball. He could pass the basketball. The only thing the guy couldn't do was jump.
Right.
And I don't know. I've been told when he went to the NBA Combine, they measured him, he was 6'6", not 6'8".
Which makes it all even more amazing.
And I think if you'll listen to Charles Barkley, he'll still tell you to this day the toughest matchup he had when he
was playing against him. Yep.
Was playing against Popeye Jones. And the good thing about Popeye is he's been such a great ambassador to the school too. He's gone off, been very successful, NBA assistant coach, always comes back to Murray. Of course, visits at Dresden too, so it makes it awful convenient on him. But just what a great player. Like you said, it's hard when they say, well, who's your favorite player to watch? Boy, that's a tough one, but he is right there at the top. But that's a heck of a guy to start out your all-decade team with.
Yeah, we told you this roster was incredible, and it just right out of the gate with that guy. 3 times the OVC rebounding champ, again, led the nation in 91-92. Twice he was the OVC player of the year. Probably should have been player of the year 3 times, as a matter of fact. A little bit of Murray State fatigue, I think, there with the dominance maybe hurt him there, but he was just, again, he was arguably as good as he had been in that senior year as he closed out his career. But again, Popeye, there are so many things we can point to and show you. This tells you how great he was, but to see him was something even greater, and that's how guys become legend. As we hit this point with Popeye, as we start, and of course he was a guy that started in the late 80s, crosses over into the 90s. We told you guys a lot about Paul King and Greg Coble. when we were doing the 80s club. And of course, they also crossed over into the early parts of the 90s decade. And so they would certainly be worthy of mention on both sides there. Another guy here on our all 90s team, one of the most interesting characters in Racer basketball history. All of those of us that were on campus with him and got to watch him would tell you that is a fact. But one thing about Frank Allen, Lindy, he was a lethal shooter of the basketball, much in the same way that we think of shooting today. Frank, for his career from deep, he made 251 triples at a 38.4% clip. He shot 45% from deep as a junior, twice was the OVC three-point shooting champ. He was also great at the foul line. Now, things got interesting when the basketball was in Frank's hands, but when he shot it, it was going in an awful lot.
Oh, he could shoot it with the best. I mean, there's no question about that. And the one thing about Frank, too, he was cold-blooded. He was not hesitant, okay? And the one thing he did do is during that junior year, I know the senior year kind of went squirrely. I mean, it got crazy at the end and things didn't really end good with that situation with Frank, if you remember what happened in that game. But anyway, he hit some huge shots. I mean, I can remember a game over at SIU on ESPN, I think. And man, Frank just hit a couple of huge threes. I mean, right there in front of the bench, just nailed them. So when I think of Frank Allen, I think of that pigeon-toed, slow motion guy coming down the floor. But boy, if you gave him room, he'd let it fly. And his free throw percentage had to have been really. What was his free throw percentage? I don't remember him missing too many free throws either.
Yeah, he was a great free throw shooter, Lindy. He really was, and again, I think had a OVC free throw title in there as well. Let me look here into my notes. Yeah, he was twice. He led the OVC in free throw shooting. So when you lead the league in 3-point shooting twice and free throw shooting twice, you're a guy who can really shoot it. And when he handled the ball a lot early in his career, he had over 100 assists twice as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he played a little point guard when he probably shouldn't have been point guard. I think he's kind of forced into that a little bit because of the personnel. He was always a two guard, in my opinion. When you just looked at him, he looked like an off guard. But he could do two. He did the one thing that guarantees you to be on Lindy's all-decade team. He can hit free throws and he can hit 3-point shots. And if you can do that and you can make all league, I guarantee you're going to be on my team.
And he is at 15.6 points a game for his career. He never averaged less than 14 points in a season. 14.6, 14.1, 17.6, 16.7, added up 1,811 points, 364 assists for Frank Allen. Now, a guy that I love, and I know Lindy really has an appreciation for, and one of my good friends, Ed Chapman, referred to Cedric Gum as criminally underrated because he played with a lot of great players. He played with a lot of guys that put up bigger numbers, but Cedric had a terrific career. And Cedric Gum, and just like Popeye, there's so many of these guys that remind us what it was like when programs could keep and develop players. Cedric, just a minor role in his first year in 90-91, 2 points and 2 assists a game. It was 9.5 points and 82 assists for the season in 91-92. Then he's a double-figure scorer, 11.9 and 11.3. The assist totals continue to climb. He was a very good, solid defender, 160 steals in his career. And the thing about Cedric, a great efficient guard in that era. He shot 45% from the field overall. He made 41% of his threes, Lindy. And again, that's not how you would have thought of him, but 41% from the three-point line, including his senior year, making 47 of 119, but just a really solid piece on some great Racer teams.
On some great Racer teams. And you're right. He is a guy that is forgotten. He's even forgotten by me, and that's very unusual. I mean, you had to kind of bring it up to me about Cedric Gum. And I think the reason why is because what you just said. He played with so many other great players. And he's got a few championship rings, too, which ranks high with me, too.
Yes.
You're a good player and you got championships to carry along with it, then that kind of raises your stock a little bit. So, yeah, Cedric Gum definitely deserves to be on that team.
Lindy, I alluded to this earlier, and I may be mistaken here because when I wrote this down, I was like, my goodness, this is nearly every year. But by my count, OVC tourney titles in 90, 91, 92, 95, 97, 98, and 99. Huh?
That's crazy.
That's a decade.
That's a decade of dominance for sure.
I mean, that is incredible stuff.
And you're coming off those last years of the 80s going into the 90s, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, just phenomenal.
And you're in Racer Arena.
So I'm going to skip a guy here that's near and dear to you because we started with Popeye, and we're gonna end with it with another of the all-time greats. So we're going to slip chronologically past him, and we'll get back to the man with the initials MB before it's all said and done. So let's go ahead and get to the career of Vincent Rainey, another guy. Just phenomenal stuff here with Vincent in terms of development. First year, again, there's some great players around. There's a lot of depth. 5 points, 2 rebounds as a freshman. As a sophomore, kick it to 18.8 and 6.1, 19.4 and 6.0 as a junior, and 21.9 points and 8.2 rebounds as a senior. And I believe OVC Player of the Year in a career where he scored nearly 1,900 points, 1,888, and grabbed 645 rebounds. Vincent Rainey, an unbelievable career in the Racer uniform.
You're dang right. In fact, he would push that top 10 of all time, in my opinion, because not only did Vincent Rainey have a good career, Vincent Rainey was a gym rat. Vincent Rainey spent his life in the gym. Vincent Rainey was a warrior. And Vincent Rainey didn't care if it said Arkansas or Duke on the front of that jersey. I'm as good as you are. And he proved it in every big game. Go back and look at the big games.
Yep.
The big games against North Carolina, when they fouled him out with 5 minutes to go on phantom fouls, where we got cheated because in ACBS made to make sure North Carolina was on that next night. I promise you, I was there, front row, Travis.
You ain't forgot that either.
He's tough. And I want to add one thing. Since we were talking last week about Vincent's recruiting story and Godfrey telling about the president going down and helping, keep Vincent. The real man that kept Vincent Rainey at Murray State was Gerald Suter, my dad. We can talk about all the visits were taken by whoever. Believe me, I know. The reason Vincent Rainey came back to Murray State was because of Gerald Suter. Okay? End of story. I know the real story.
And that was
my dad proper credit for that, Travis.
Yeah. Well, hey,
I mean,
the assist to Gerald is on the board, my friend. And again, Vincent, part of so much of that success as you transition through from Scott Edgar to Mark Gottfried, and things just kept rolling. And one of the things we didn't talk about the guy yet that has spent a lot of time as the star of Vincent's clubs. And of course, Vincent did a great job of taking that mantle completely on his back at the end of his career. But that Vincent was also able to coexist and thrive with another truly great player, another thing that both those guys should get credit for. But when you love winning, it's easy, or easier anyway, to fit into what the club needs, but did a great job of that. As Lindy noted, perhaps one of the biggest things on Vincent's resume is that ability to rise in big games. So as the winning continued in 96 and 97, 97, 98, it was a couple of 2-year guards that had some of the greatest impact on the program. I mean, guys that just really you look at what they did and you just go, wow. I'll start with the guy who was the floor general, and we'll get to the showman next. But Lindy, Chad Townsend, the impact he had as the guy that ran the club, as the guy who could score the basketball, and he averaged nearly 14 points for his career, scoring 855 points in just 63 games, but had 2 of the top 10 assists single season totals in program history. Number 2, in fact, he was the single season record holder until Ja obliterated it during his sophomore years. But Townsend in 96, 97 handed out 212 helpers, Then he had 171 more, which still has put him in program top 10 in just 2 years. And Chad Townsend, one of Lindy's favorite things, got a lot of winning done.
Yes, he did. He was a winner, and he's exactly what that team needed. He's another guy that goes under the radar because of some of the great players he played with. In my opinion, Chad Townsend's a Hall of Famer. That's just my opinion. He came in, hearing that story about Sylvester recruiting Chad, and it's the next to the last day, and he calls Mark and says he's found a point guard, and it was Chad Townsend. Of course, Chad had a little age because he'd been in the Army, which I think that always helped, especially then, to have a guy like him in there. And there's no way that we could have done what we would have done without Chad Townsend. And a great guy, lives down in Tampa right now, has stayed in contact with my family. Just a really, I take Chad Townsend's every year.
Well, the impact enormous, and he did it in tandem with one of the great shooters. And as you shared with us last week, one of the great showmen, Terry Mays. Lindy averaged 21 or more in both of his seasons, 21 on the dot in 96-97. He also grabbed 6.6 rebounds that year, 21.5 in 97-98 with 4 boards in that season. And the volume shooting, folks, 83 of 202 for 41% in 96-97, 103 made triples in 97-98 at a 44% clip. I think it's one of just 4 100 or more three-point field goal seasons. And Terry Mays, DT as he was known, another one of those guys, Lindy, the numbers don't quite do justice to what the visual show actually was.
Oh, the visual show was something else. And his story about not playing high school basketball. And I still remember the cover of having DT Mays on the cover of the Racer Insider. And we took him over to Murray Elementary to the blacktop court and set him on a basketball and took that photo because that was DT Mays. That's where he played the game, was on the playground. It's an interesting story. Went to junior college. His recruiting story is also interesting. But anyway, a guy that truly enjoyed playing the game. It was a joy to watch him play because he had such joy playing the game. Another guy, if you wanted to take that big shot, you're giving it to DT Mays. There's a couple of them that stand out. You watch that last game against Tennessee State in Race Arena. The threes he made down the stretch in the situations, unbelievable. You take the game against Austin Peay when we force it into overtime. He comes off that curl, catches it. The one he could hit that three on the move, coming around that pick, coming around the top of the circle, catching there, pop it. He hit it. It goes into overtime. DT, just a colorful guy. Another guy that's kept contact with the school, went overseas, had a great career overseas. He liked where he was at, so he didn't do a whole lot of moving. I think he might end up marrying someone from there. But now he's back. He's living in Alabama. But DT, absolutely one of the most entertaining players we've ever had. One of the best players. Again, I would not ever turn down a DT Mays because what could he do? He could shoot.
Shoot that basketball.
He could shoot that basketball, man. If you throw a 42% DT Mays out there on the floor right now, it'd help a lot.
For his career over those 2 years, 186 made threes at nearly 43%. That is a sniper extraordinaire. And what a backcourt those two guys, Townsend and Mays, would form. Now, they would have an understudy coming, and we'll get to him in just a minute because this group was so special, and the Alabama guys just kept lifting this. And we'll start with the forward, one of the most consistent players probably in Murray State history. Isaac Spencer, right out of the gate, started having an impact his freshman year. It was 13 points and 8.3 rebounds at 63% shooting, by the way. One of the most clever players around the basket we've had as well. 16 and 7 as a sophomore, 19.9 and 8.2 as a junior, 21.6 and 7.1 as a senior. For his career, he shot over 54%. Career averages of 17.6 points and 7.7 rebounds. It added up to 2,248 points, 976 rebounds, 352 assists, and 4 times all OVC, and recently and rightfully so recognized for that great career, Mr. Isaac Spencer.
Yeah, well, I remember signing him. I remember signing him. Mark worked awful hard to get Isaac Spencer. Believe me, he worked awful hard. That was a priority, and I'll never forget. Me and Don went down to Alabama and actually watched Isaac get his Mr. Basketball award before he ever came to Murray. And what a career he had. One of the most explosive players off the floor I think we've ever had, as far as getting up quickly. I mean, he could dominate a game inside at what, 6'6".
Yeah, and he's probably a guy that might have measured a little shorter.
Yeah. But man, you talked about Rainey, and then you talk about Spencer. You take those two, and you go to war with anybody, wouldn't you? There's two clones, really.
Yeah, and you knew what you were going to get.
With the same mentality, and he won a lot of. I think it's unfortunate that he did hurt his back, because people don't realize, but that back did get injured that summer before his senior year, and he had to overcome that. And I think he got it hurt a little bit in that game against Ohio State, if I remember. And and we were right there with them too until CBS decided they needed Ohio State. Because I was sitting beside the guy that was the guy that was over the Big East commissioner sitting beside me on press row.
They sent the scripts into the officials.
I turned around and told him that, and he looked at me with a little smirk.
Hey, and the best thing is, I know you told him that. I know that you did.
But getting Ike here is great. It's great that his number's up there. Again, boy, I love going back and watching videos of him playing basketball. It's absolutely one of our all-time greats, Ike Spencer, and he was highly thought of kid coming out of high school too. So this wasn't no under the rock guy. There's one thing that I've kind of caught as we're going through these 90s, though. We've seen that we have gone from Memphis and West Tennessee. Now we've moved down to Alabama.
And doing real well, and not done here as we get to Mr. Aubrey Reese.
Yes.
And Lindy, let me highlight this real quick. We talked about this run of racer excellence that had started in the late 80s. So Aubrey caps the great build of his career with an OVC Player of the Year award in 99-2000. When he gets that award, okay, OVC Players of the Year, Popeye 89 and 90, 90-91, and then perhaps shafted in 91-92, okay?
That against Brett Roberts in that game at Rupp.
Marcus, the Player of the Year, Marcus Brown, who we're going to get to here, I'm spoiling a little bit, but Marcus 94-95 and 95-96. DT Player of the Year in 97-98. And Aubrey in 99-2000. And that's after Jeff Martin had closed the 80s being the two-time Player of the Year. Now, that's a run.
And what did that equal?
Championships.
Championships. That's right. It equaled championships. It sure did.
Well, now, if you guys were with us last week, you heard Lindy talk about Aubrey being brought in to add depth to the backcourt. And Lindy said, I don't know how you're going to keep this guy off the floor. And they couldn't for long. Serving as understudy his first year, he goes for 4.6 points a game and hands out 68 assists. He's plus 27 assist turnover ratio as a freshman. That's awfully good stuff as a young fella. The next year, it's 15 points a game, and now the assist total has grown to 152. He does that again the next year while ballooning his scoring average to 20.4 points a game. Again, he is the OVC Player of the Year, ending his career with 1,271 points, 372 assists. He had 199 free throws. You want to talk about a guy's attacking toughness as a senior. Got to the foul line 199 times, had 133 steals in his career. And probably, Lindy, as much of anything, for all of his talents as a player, competitor is the stamp you'd most put on Aubrey Reese.
Aubrey Reese is right there with the other two that I just mentioned when it come to that. He was a dog, as they would call it. A guy that had a lot of, as Gottfried used to say, the word moxie. I think that's the first time I ever heard the word moxie came from Gottfried. And I had to go look up, what the hell is he talking about? Moxie. But yeah, that's a really good story there. And it's an honest to goodness truth story too. And Gottfried told a little bit of it last year. We signed Reese. I looked him up and he's really a good football player. Hey, this dude is a really good defensive back, and I can tell why. And I think he's not even mentioned in any top 1,000 list at all. Okay. He's not even listed. And so anyway, he rose in with this group. T actually was the point man on recruiting Aubrey, and brought him. He brought him in here, and Godfrey says, "Go watch him play." I went and watched him play. He said, "Come back and tell me what you think." I come back and I says, "Man, I love that Reese kid." And Godfrey says, "I recruited him as a backup." And I said, "Well, he ain't gonna be no backup for long." I was actually right on that one, but that was the one thing I noticed from him from the get-go. And I like those guys that don't back down from anybody. And he was a freshman. He's rolling in there. He's got Chad Townsend. And of course, Aubrey's one of those guys that I should be playing, you know. But he was good. He took his role and he played his role well that year. But, you know, he just had it. He had that it. And he is competitive, stubborn as they come. Never wrong, always right, kind of like me. when me and him would sit across the table and we disagreed on something, it was interesting, Travis. But I'll have to say he was right half the time and I was right half the time. So, but anyway, I loved Aubrey. Aubrey was real close to the family too. Has come back when he came back and got his degree because of the Hoopalooza, and my brother let him stay at his house during that time for free. He lived there and got his degree. So he's been really tight with the family. Came back from my brother's funeral. He is a dude though. I mean, and that's why he was so good. His mentality was just one of those. And of course, nobody will ever forget those shots. He made it get 2 of them in 1 year against SEMO. Taking that ball the length of the court with 6 seconds to go and hitting that leaner off over Bud Ely. To send us to the NCAA tournament and then go down there and stand on that press row and let those SEMO fans have it. My kind of guy.
Yeah, well, and when I think of him, that competitiveness, that's what, you know, I will always think about, the willingness to take it all on. And what a great career again, from the understudy to the OVC Player of the Year, and again, in terms of the program developing players, they were just doing such a high level job of it. So we've kind of already let the cat out of the bag. You guys know Marcus Brown's in this decade. Marcus will be our capstone that started with Popeye. But the final spot on this roster, and there were lots of great guys in this decade to consider, but because Lindy loves shooting and he loves winning, we settled on William Moore, who was a big part of winning in 95. Over 2 years in his career, William, over 58 games, scored 695 points at a 12-point-a-game clip. It was nearly 15 a night in his final year in 94-95. And here's the shooting piece, guys. 47 of 117 from deep for 40.2% in his first year. His second year, he made 76 triples, again at 40.4%. And just another one of those great racer guards during the decade. And maybe a guy that it's great that we put him on here because some people may have forgotten him 30 years on, but a terrific shooter.
Yeah, I bet a lot of people don't even know who William Moore is. William Moore was a great little guard. In fact, he was a key point, again, playing with great players. But William Moore, if you'll look back, if I'm not wrong, if you'll go back and look at that OVC tournament game, that OVC tournament year that we won, Edgar's last year, when we went and played North Carolina, if I'm not wrong, William Moore was the MVP of the OVC tournament that year. I may be wrong, and I think he got like 20-something points in maybe the championship game. But he was a good shooter, and is exactly what that team needed. He was a lefty. He was a lefty that could flat out shoot it. His son ended up being an all-conference player in the Horizon League, believe it or not. And William was up in the Memphis area. Tried to get him back a couple of times, but the schedule's not worked out. But yeah, he's one of those guys that people are probably going to have to go back and look up. But he had a nice little black Mustang or something because he kept that thing shining. I remember that. He was proud of that car.
Well, as we cap the decade with Mr. Marcus Brown, we've taken you through the OVC Player of the Year list. And again, Marcus goes on to win 2 of those. We mentioned Popeye's 3 rebounding championships and a nationwide rebounding title. Chad Townsend led the league in assists in 97-98. Marcus was the steals champ in 94-95. DT led the league in shooting the 3 from 96-97. Frank won 2 3-point shooting championships. Scoring championships, Marcus had 2 of those. Vincent had 1. DT had 1. Aubrey had 1. Frank was twice the free throw leader. DT was in 97, 98. 4-time All-OVC selection, Isaac Spencer. 3 times was Popeye Jones, Frank Allen, Vincent Rainey, and Marcus Brown. Twice DT, Chad, and Aubrey. And those OVC tourney titles, 90, 91, 92, 95, 97, 98, and 99. And that brings us to Mr. Brown. And I told Lindy this the other day, folks. Marcus is one of those players that I think anybody who saw him understands how great he was.
Yes.
His raw numbers tell you how great he was. But I told Lindy the more I dug in, the better he got. Because this is a guy, if we were making the short list of offensive and defensive two-way impact, he might be number 1. He would certainly be well up that list. And another guy that had a chance to develop 8.9 points a game to start his career as a freshman. He averages 18 points a game as a sophomore, playing 26 minutes a night. 18 and 26, that's getting it done. Shot 50% overall. He did struggle a little bit from 3 that year. He only shot about 31%. But you want to talk about a guy getting better? As a junior, it's 22.4 points a game, and his three-point shooting is up to 37%. His senior year, and Coach Gottfried mentioned this last week, not only was he a senior in transitional times, he asked him to play some point guard, a career high 26.4 points per game. He made 74 threes at a 42.3% clip, 2,230 points for his career, 481 rebounds, 294 assists, and 232 steals. A special player, Lindy. We're talking about 4-year guys. It's going to be hard to split them, so we'll probably just keep them all in one elite group. But in the inner circle of basketball Hall of Famers, you'll find Marcus Brown.
Oh, no doubt. And, it took a while to get that number 5 in the rafters, but I'm glad that Darren Boatwright helped get that done years ago because he was well-deserved. And Marcus Brown's special to me, special to my family. I'll say this right off the bat, so I might be a little bit prejudiced. In fact, my license plate says Racer 5 right now. He was my brother. He was my brother, still is my brother. His picture was in our hallway with my brothers in my dad's house. It was me, Larry, Terry, and Marcus. And Marcus stayed over there a whole lot, and he lost cereal. Lost cereal. He loves cereal. His recruiting story is funny, too. He came in. He thought, here I am in Murray, Kentucky. So he took a little walk, and there's a Hardee's up there on the corner. He says, well, good. They got a Hardee's. So we had a Hardee's, and that helped us a whole lot. But anyway, Marcus had a great career, and to watch him grow, watch him play so hard. He would take the game so serious, and I can only imagine what it's like playing for him when he's a coach, because I know he would expect the same kind of effort. And what a tandem, Brown and Rainey at the same time. 2 guys that motor ran like, don't take, that's what tickles me about some of these guys today. Time management. Shit. Sorry. This 22 and 24 minutes a game. Yeah. 20 years old or 21 years old. I remember when Aubrey Reese was playing 40 minutes and Marcus was playing 38 or 40 and Rainey was too. And if the coach sends somebody out there to sub for him, they'd send them back. Seen Aubrey send one back one night. I ain't coming out of the game. And so that really, that's off the subject a little bit there.
Yes.
But Marcus was super. He had such a career overseas. People don't realize how good he was. I think he'd probably been better in today's NBA than at the time.
Oh, yes, without question. He
hit the NBA at the wrong time. And, the NBA can get a little bit political too, believe it or not. And, Marcus made that decision, which ended up being a great decision. He could have hung around and probably been, playing several NBA teams. But Marcus, he ain't sitting on the bench nowhere. Okay, it don't matter. And he wanted to go where he could play, and he ended up for a long time. He was the all-time leading scorer of the EuroLeague. We all know the EuroLeague's no joke. He is known over there. There was a time period where Marcus Brown in the EuroLeague was Michael Jordan to the EuroLeague. And if you bring up Marcus Brown's name over there, he is like I said, one of the all-time greats of that league. Not just one of the all-time greats here at Murray State, but one of the all-time greats of the Euro League. And, I still remember that game against Memphis down here, sophomore year. Finch was coaching Memphis, I think it was. And Marcus had that big game against him. I think Marcus had he decorated himself up kind of neat. He had one short sleeve shirt, and then the other one had no sleeve. And then he'd always have stuff written on his shoes and, stuff like that. But Marcus has been great. He came back and coached here for a little while with Coach Prone. Found out probably pretty quick, especially it was hard for a guy like Marcus Brown to accept these guys getting paid and still having to chase them to class. Okay.
Right.
Rather than Marcus Brown. If this is the way college basketball is going to be, I don't think I can live with it. And so he got the opportunity to go back to where he was at, West Memphis, where his family's from, where he had a house and his kids. And he was the athletic director at West Memphis and the head basketball coach. So he had a good situation to go back to. And but what a great career, great games. The game up at Louisville, there's 31 NBA scouts there that night. I remember it in Freedom Hall as Mark's years. It was that year, if you'll remember, Marcus Brown was being chased by scouts. I mean, we had scouts everywhere. And the whole lineup was there to watch him against Louisville. And I think he got 32 or 33 that night. Played a heck of a game. We almost pulled it off. Got cheated. That don't happen at Freedom Hall. But anyway. Yeah. What a career. The games, I think he's still our all-time leading in one game, 44 points, right ahead of Herb McPherson.
45 maybe, Lindy, I think.
Something like that. I watched, I think that's against Washington, Missouri. It looks good when it says Washington, but anyway, I think it was Washington, some small division.
St. Louis, yeah.
Because me and Godfrey went back to my house after that game. I watched it on the Q or whatever it was, QTV rerun. But yeah, he's special. He's special. And boy, you're right, man. It gets hard. People start asking you, who, man, you're talking about Popeye. Now we're talking about Marcus. We talked about Isaac. Talk about which five do you start out of that, and how hard would they be to beat?
Wow. Well, I mean,
you had Isaac Spencer at the 4. You got Popeye Jones at the 5. We'll throw Rainey in at the 3.
Oh, I mean, you could just go any number of ways. I mean, because Marcus could play point guard.
That's what I'm saying. Throw him at the point.
So you can put him in DT as your backcourt if you wanted to.
Him and DT with Rainey and Spencer and Popeye.
Yeah, I mean, and then look at what your bench is.
Let's roll. Let's go, baby. You got Chad and Aubrey to come off the bench to play for. Too.
It's just, and Lindy, what it makes me think of, and we'll get things wrapped up here in just a second, but to think about what the university and the program were able to do for years to get this kind of talent and also successfully develop this kind of talent. Because let's make this point real quick. When Aubrey started his career, he was a reserve. When Marcus started his career, he was a part-time guy. When Vincent started his career, he was a part-time guy. Cedric, when he started his career, barely played. Popeye was a part-time guy. How much talent do you have if guys like this have to wait their turn? That's amazing.
I'll tell you what, forever, if you'd have asked somebody, Benny Purcell, and it is forever, because I'd always ask him, who's the best team? Who's the most talented team? He would tell you that team that Edgar had, that Rainey came off the bench and Brown was a sophomore and had Antoine Teague and it's hard to leave Antoine Horde off that team.
Right. One of the great athletes, Skywalkers.
Antoine Horde off that team. I think there's even another guard I might have left off that's pretty dang good. Maurice Cannon had 2 really good years here too. He was one of them that I was looking at. Man, he was a really good player too. But that little group right there, they were very, very, very talented. And and played the kind of style probably that fit Marcus Brown too.
Yeah.
All out, let's go full court and let's roll. And that probably helped Marcus. Having Coach Edgar as a coach helped Marcus a lot. And then, of course, being able to make that transition into with Gottfried, which that was shaky. Believe me, and as he said in the beginning, it was a little bit tough. Gerald was having to play a pretty good part in that one too. Okay, keeping that back together. But anyway, it all worked out. And it's a shame that it ended like it ended. Like Mark said, that was just a shame that Marcus's last game ended with or not his last game, but
Right.
the OEC tournament game where we lost the game by 1 point, and on that foul that still haunts everybody, I think, in Racer Nation. But anyway, he was, it would be hard to not, if you got a chance to draft Marcus Brown on your team, be hard to not draft him.
Yeah. Well, we like this decade, the banners, the great players, the great coaches, a special time for Racer fans, no doubt about it. Well, we're going to let my man get back to work and his recovery. We're glad to have you back, partner. A mega show today with your return.
Yeah, let's see. I'm on day 7. I hadn't had a pain pill in 16 hours. That's pretty dang good. Pretty dang good.
This was a completely lucid performance then.
Yeah, exactly right. This was drug-free. And by the way, people need to start texting me and calling me and congratulating me for staying off X. After losses. I mean, maybe they're waiting for me. Maybe they like my old little explosions.
Your restraint has been remarkable, really.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate that a bunch.
Hey, even you and I can grow and mature eventually, right?
Until they really hit that line. You know what I'm talking about, Travis. You know that line that Travis will be at. You got it.
Hey, that's why we want you on that wall.
If you ever get it there, it's it'll be something else. But the last tweet I made on X was confidence and enthusiasm equals being a winner.
There you go.
You're not confident and you're not doing what you're doing enthusiastic. You're just medicore. You might even be a loser. So just keep that in mind. Anybody out there, no matter what profession you're in, these guys over here in the arena, if they'll take confidence and real enthusiasm to play the game the last part of this season, we might get surprised.
Yeah, well,
we
and they certainly
take those 2 qualities in, and I think you can look at it. That's one thing they got to get back, because they got to get the confidence back. That's easier said than done, but it can happen over these next 3 games.
Well, listen,
I will get your swagger back right now and get excited about going to Illinois State and playing. Get excited about playing Evansville on Saturday, and the fans need to be the same way.
Well, Lindy, and I'll say this as we wrap it up: a team that wins both at Illinois State and at Bradley has a real chance to win the Missouri Valley tournament.
You dang right. And we need to start with Illinois State. We need to pay them back. They beat us here, right? So, yeah. And
there's the opportunity.
There's the opportunity. It's still there. Everything that we wanted, except the regular season crown, is still there in front of us. We still got a good record. We are at the top of the Missouri Valley Conference currently. We're not at first place, but we're right up there in discussion, which last year we'd probably give anything to be in that discussion right now. But the thing is, if this don't turn around, the opposite could happen. Because Bradley could beat us, Illinois State could beat us, and Evansville should be a win. But I've learned in this league, you don't go up there and put a W on the schedule yet.
No, 40 minutes have got to be played.
Still got to play, and you still got to make shots.
Yeah.
And it's time that we start making some shots. And I know that teams are preparing for us, and you could probably chart it, but boy, it seems like to me we've missed a lot of wide open shots too. I mean, maybe a little bit contested, but I mean, I'm talking about open.
I do think that goes back to the confidence piece. I think it is shaking a little right now, and they need to see the ball go in. Hopefully that starts on Wednesday night.
Just like Shorter. I mean, we got him for 3 points. You can tell that it's somewhere along the line during this season, he lost that little bit, that little edge. And hopefully we can get those guys back on track. We need Miller to make threes. We need to make some 3-point shots. And we need to get, like you said, get those possessions up. Go back to doing what we were doing. and we still got that chance.
And go and compete. If you'll compete, I think everybody will be proud.
Yeah.
That's the thing maybe that it felt like's been missing a little bit lately. You mentioned the enthusiasm, time to put that on display. My
Exactly.
friend, we'll let you get back to it. As always, the final words are yours.
Go Racers.